What's up, dudes? Max here. So we're back with some impressions of a preview event that we had at Capcom's headquarters for Street Fighter 6. Big thanks to Capcom once again for giving us access to this build of the game, which is most likely close to the final build of Street Fighter 6, and getting a little bit of an opportunity to play as much as we possibly could with a limited amount of time. I wish we can go into extreme detail regarding every single aspect of this game and setups and characters and stuff like that. But unfortunately, we just only had a very small window of time for each session, and that session was divided between playing matches, going into training mode, trying to learn something, and also going into World Tour. So at least you guys can bump up the quality of this video match footage and also look at stuff in 4K to see how good the game actually looks. So let's go over a few key elements of Street Fighter 6 and my overall impressions of what is the full roster of the game, and tell you guys exactly what's going on. So the main characters I really wanted to focus on are the few that we haven't seen a ton of gameplay-wise. Specifically, Marissa has been a fan favorite amongst, I think, the majority of the viewing audience. She's easily one of the more captivating characters that has been added to the game, so I spent probably the most time with her as a new character. And obviously messed around a bit with JP, because JP is severely fascinating, is seemingly set up to be the main character slash bad guy of the game, and easily has some of the most captivating gameplay of all of them. I'm going to give a general, like, broad stroke impression of the characters that we haven't seen a ton of, like, you know, half the roster. The thing I'm really surprised about between all of these new roster characters and how things are working is the sauce involved. Yes, for all of the existing roster we played from previous betas, all of the new characters have a lot of really fascinating and interesting things. How do they do this? Well, characters are just kitted. They get a lot more tools, they get a lot more special moves, and they get a lot more command normals. Things work just slightly different per character, where they all feel genuinely unique and genuinely different than they have before. I feel like E Honda, to a certain degree, feels probably the most similar to his Street Fighter V iteration in many ways. Blanca is also new and different, and then Dalsum has also been retooled and reworked in ways that are kind of different, but kind of hard to specifically describe because we just didn't get a ton of time per character per situation. So I will say Marissa's really damn cool. Let's just go over her really quick. Marissa is fascinating because the majority of things Marissa does can be charged. And between special moves, between some of her normals and command normals, you can hold the button down and it alters that normal or special move. Sometimes if they have like crouching attacks, that also can be altered in certain ways. So it isn't just that, oh, you know, you have your 6 regular normal attacks on Marissa on the ground or jumping or whatnot. You also have modifications to those where you can change certain attacks if you hold the button down. It changes like frame data, or it changes the hit effect, or it changes the counter hit state. All this wild stuff, or it applies armor in some situations, and hopefully you can see some of it in this gameplay. We're not utilizing it in the correct way at all, but it does lead to some very impactful moments where you're just getting the absolute shit kicked out of you by this chick, and the amount of corner carry and all this stuff really lines up. I was thinking her stance was going to be more integral to the core facets of her gameplay, where you're going to be able to cancel into stance and do all this stuff, but funny enough, her stance mode, which acts as like a natural shield that goes into a command grab, an overhead, or a low, is only usable in neutral. Like, you can't actually hit a button and go into it. A lot of her normals can't really be canceled into attacks. She didn't have a lot of cancelable normals that you can just do a combo with. So you have to figure out the really good ones, which is, you know, kind of part of the course for Street Fighter ever since Street Fighter V. You have to figure out which good cancelable normals you use from certain ranges, obviously. But a lot of her long-reaching stuff is just good for pokes. She seems to be like a bully character. She really reminds me of the modern-day take on, like, Abigail, you know, and I really enjoyed that. I didn't get a ton of time to mess around with Geef, and you're obviously looking at some Geef footage, but yes, the command grab damage is absolutely insane. A lot of different alterations to his supers from the bit I was playing against him. And yes, he definitely seems to be pretty sauced in a lot of ways that I can't fully communicate what will make a captivating command grab character, but I think Zangief fans are going to be very happy with the way he is preserved in this game in a new version of Street Fighter. JP is the other character that I think is insanely fascinating. Just figuring out his combo structure and how things work with him was ridiculously cool. It's the fact that this character has a lot of normals that use his staff, and between them being cancelable, acting as good pokes, going into his variety of absolutely ridiculous special moves. I kept using the comparison when I'm playing JP. I feel like I'm playing Ermac from Mortal Kombat, which is just this magic user that's throwing all this wild and stuff at you from full screen. You're getting bounced up and down. He's teleporting behind you. And like, it really felt like this quote unquote trap character, which I think is his best way to describe his gameplay, is like a trap slash mix character. Is ridiculously cool. And even though I didn't get all of this stuff on capture just because we didn't have the ample opportunity to do so, some of the things he gets from his supers is absolutely insane. What he can do from full screen, what he can do combo-wise from the most basic special hit confirms, it's ridiculously cool. And he's also got this level 2 super that adds all these orbs around him, sort of like similar to like a Minot situation, but they continually attack and like strike the opponent, so it'll set up for mix-ups and full combo opportunity stuff. It's just badass, dude. I'm very impressed with him. And I think that's the other thing that I can echo throughout my character impressions of Street Fighter 6 and finally getting to see what all these other characters do is their toolkits are just so big. What they can do is going to lead to so many things, and we were trying to figure out combos. We had an opportunity to go through Cammy's combos and actually get footage of it and show off what is possible with a character like Cammy, and she has changed a lot. And I would argue this is probably the most different Cammy has been, while still keeping traditional. Like, she still has her core elements that have made Cammy, all those special moves and stuff like that. But the way they work and how you apply them just feels different than any version of this character before. Much more than like the bare bones Cammy that was kind of in Street Fighter V at the start. I think Cammy fans are going to be ridiculously excited about this character. I think there's a lot that's inherently super appealing just because of how damn cool she is. And from these brief little bits you're seeing on screen, you can get an idea of that. We are going to be going over some of the Cammy trials, which we do have footage of. So stay tuned in another video that'll be going up today, going over Cammy's trials. We also got to check out arcade mode, and I was delighted to at least let everybody know that yes, arcade mode does exist in Street Fighter 6. Obviously, you can choose a variety of stage options between like 5 stages to 12 stages, and we got to play a brief one, which is only like a few stages, and it ends with like fighting a car. But the nice part about it is it seemed like from our impressions that there would be only like an introductory cutscene of how characters are, what's going on with them, how they're brought to their current situation. Ken was the one that we got to show off. But I can't say what it is by any means, but I can tell you that there is actual endings. It isn't just an introductory video and that's it, and you get your small reward at the end. No. There is an ending. So even though I can't show it to you, between all the characters that are in Street Fighter 6, if you want to learn more about them, you will be able to play an actual, story mode / brief arcade mode that will give you some information about what's going on, and likely get much more information about them in the World Tour mode, which is sick. And that's the final thing I want to mention is World Tour mode. I want to dedicate a much longer World Tour impressions because we got a lot of footage of the World Tour outside of what's in the demo and some very cool things that are in there. But World Tour, for many people, is going to be the selling aspect of this game. I make the comparison to Def Jam Fight for New York after playing the demo and now playing this full version, which we got to play significantly more of than what's in the demo. But what it really feels like to me is a much larger and much more fleshed out mode that was essentially Def Jam Fight for New York, where you go to all these locations from like a world map, and then you fight like rappers and all these other wrestling characters and learn their moves and get new items and customize your character. It essentially is that, just expanded to a degree that is awesome. You run around the city and you find so many cool nooks and crannies and references and all these little elements that make Metro City actually feel like kind of like a vibe to run around in. There's just some moments that feel great. And once again, I'll go into further detail in our World Tour video that actually highlights some of these things and why it is that way. But I was impressed with it, and I think World Tour is going to be a big moment, not just for Street Fighter, not just for Street Fighter 6, but for fighting games in general, because it is something a lot different than we've seen from previous efforts of like story modes in fighting games where they're mostly cinematic cutscene driven sort of things. This absolutely still has that, but having this fully realized world that it's like, oh, this is just a Street Fighter world, it's really cool. And even from somebody that's going to be putting most of my time into this game of figuring out characters and training mode and online and all this stuff, I am actually excited to go and find out more stuff that's in it. So stay tuned for the World Tour video that's going to go into more detail and show more stuff about what's going on in it. Also going to show off some of those Cami trials. We're allowed to show all of them, so I'll be breaking them down a little bit and just seeing what's possible. And then finally, there is we got some more stuff about character faces and unique intros and some of like the cool fluffy stuff that makes Street Fighter 6 a real treat to the eyes that I'd love to share with everybody. So stay tuned. I'm going to have more videos coming up literally today. And I'm also going to leave you guys with a few more matches, at least a little bit more time of these Marissa versus Geef matches, because this is a matchup that's, you know, easily one of the most anticipated in the entire game. Enjoy the rest of the footage. I appreciate a thumbs up if you guys like this stuff. My name is Max, and I'll see you next time.
Marisa, win!